Welcome to the Autistic Culture Podcast Advocacy Edition. In these episodes, we tackle the issues that matter most to autistic people.
Each week, we share our insights and the experiences of our guests on how to live authentically and thrive as autistics.
I'm Dr. Angela Kingdon, the linguistic autistic.
And I'm Matt Lowry, licensed psychological practitioner. Let's dive into strategies for living your best, most authentically autistic life. Episode 94, Autistic Culture for Teens and Tweens. Hey, Angela.
Hey, Matt.
Today we've got a special episode because as you well know, we get together and talk on our magic box. You are now in England, I am in the States, and every once in a while somebody joins us. But it turns out that once somebody puts this on the interwebs, people listen to us.
I know. They email me all the time. It's so fun. I love hearing from our listeners because it just seems like you and I are just talking and entertaining ourselves for an hour.
It turns out that
enjoy it.
Yeah, it turns out that we actually have some impact on people, and that is always surprising. So when we get emails and stuff from people who say, "Hey, I like your show, and I would like to do this," or "I can't believe that you said that Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec is autistic. How dare you?"
We ignore those people. If you say mean things to us in email or social media, Matt and I will just ignore you. Those are all the steps.
Well, we'll point at you and laugh. We do that. We'll
mostly
laugh.
privately. But if you tell us you love our show, we will talk about you behind your back in loving terms.
And we will do what we can do to help you.
Yes, and like I know you told me this week on my beat on this show is the literature beat, and we are getting beat up about not having our Anne of Green Gables episode out yet.
They just announced that anime.
Listeners, yes, you just posted in the Facebook group. By the way, check the show notes if you're not in the Autistic Connections Facebook group and you want to be. Matt just posted about the new Anne of Green Gables anime, which was not on my radar at all. We've had people reaching out to us saying, when are you doing the Anne of Green Gables episode? And now it is coming to a head. So if there is a show you want us to do and you have requested it and we didn't pay attention, request it again. You will eventually get our attention, and that episode will be coming soon, sometime soon.
Yeah, we will
year,
listen.
Which, by the way, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Because when this episode drops, it'll be 2025, the year in the future. And that's, I hope that 2025 is better than 2024 and not
seems unlikely,
pre-apocalyptic. But we shall see.
But we're still going to make podcast episodes. So that's our way of coping with trauma.
Yeah, because again, regardless of what happens in the world, you and I will get to talk, and if other people listen, we'll be happy to have you. Yes. But speaking of apocalyptic stuff, there is someone has requested something, and I'm going to vaguely paraphrase an email. It says that this person is a listener of the podcast, autistic, and their child is a diagnosed autistic who has had some trauma in the educational system due to the medical model of autism.
Trauma in the educational system, you say that? It can't be so.
Yeah, that's... and I will expound upon that in just a bit, but she is likely twice exceptional because that's very common for us autistic people, but she thinks her brain is broken because so many things are hard.
Girl, me too.
Mm-hmm. So this person would like an episode aimed at teens and tweens about autistic culture and how to make things better. And this is a very, very good topic. And I was behind on email due to the move. But
I like how she said, I want to point this out because she's like, how things can become so much better later once you find friends you click with. And what I think is so true about this is like, you just can't know in middle school or high school, like things will get better. And I think if you are like many people and like many people in school, if you
Yeah.
are trying to fix your autism, I feel like
Yeah.
that delays the amount of time before things get better.
It does. It does. And that's the whole masking. That's the whole lack of self-exploration. So this is not just an episode that we are going to cover today, but we are going to speed run it to the person who requested it. You get an intense behind the scenes special. We might edit this part out for the general audience. I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
figure that
No,
out. Who
I
knows?
like it. Listen, if you are a good enough fan and you write to us, you might get an episode sent directly to you before it's released to the public.
Yeah, a custom hot off the press, as it were, complete with all of the interstitials and the random comments that we may say. Oh my! I didn't realize I went off on a tangent about marbles. We will
Right.
get back on that. So yes. So but anyway. So today is going to be a 3-part episode because we find that our 3-act structure works pretty well. We are going to start off. We're going to talk about why it's bad, traumatic experiences in the educational system since they use the medical model of autism. Then part 2, after the commercial break, what you could do about it. Wonderful ways that our brains work, what autistic culture is, why it's so hard to fit into mainstream culture in school. And part 3 is what comes after, because as an autistic adult I don't have to deal with middle school bullshit anymore, and my
Yay.
my life is infinitely better because middle school sucks. So
Yeah.
we're going to start off at a very dark place and then pull our way into the light, because I think that this is where a lot of people find themselves, because I think that we could say universally middle school sucks.
Yeah.
Middle
It's
school
just
is,
for a lot of reasons, for
yeah,
everyone and for a lot of reasons. And then add all the other marginalizations. And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just going to
because
be.
that's the thing. Okay, so the biggest thing I realized a long time ago is that the educational system is designed for conformity. The educational system rewards conformity. The educational system prioritizes people sitting in one place, not doing anything, everybody being the same, performing on standardized exams, and that's it. So it can be
Because
very,
they're
very
like
difficult.
making a workforce
Yeah.
that is compliant, that probably is like a factory worker, but you
Yeah.
are going to be
Well,
given the instructions and you comply and you do the tasks and then you get your paycheck.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. The modern public educational system is based on the factory model, because while the workers were working 16-hour shifts in factories, they needed some place to store their children. So they stacked their children in boxes and said, here, sit in one place so you'll be trained to work in the factory at the ripe old age of 12. You know, so that was the entire purpose of it was a factory model that they were using. But other models, like in Japan, they have much more freedom, they have much more personal responsibility and personal kind of stuff. But if you go with like the Montessori model, we still need to cover Maria Montessori on the episode. But
It's on the
or like
list.
oh man, what's the cult that we talked about with Bluey?
Yeah, that it's the Waldorf school guy,
Waldorf, yeah.
Steiner, Rudolf Steiner.
Waldorf Steiner, cultish. Waldorf
Yeah.
better, but yeah, but there's different models that can work, but the vast majority of it is based on conformity. And the real thing about this is that you spend 18 years of your life trying to fit in, and the remainder of your life trying to stand out.
Right.
This is the
Right.
thing, because conformity does
Also,
not come in
there's this
handy.
whole, just in terms of like being average, there
Yeah,
is a concept or a model that everyone should learn everything. Like we should
yeah,
all learn a little bit of, I don't know, algebra, and we should learn a little bit of biology, and we should. But if you think about it from an autistic culture perspective,
yeah,
whatever your special interest is at the moment, if it requires physics or chemistry, you will learn it.
yeah.
Like, if you just follow your special interest, you are going to learn to write about it, because you're going to be writing comments in social media and on your YouTube descriptions. You're going to be doing all of those skills from a monotropic focus, instead of just like, I remember learning geometry and just screaming at my teacher,
Yeah.
like, I will never use this. And then she looked at me and she's like, what if you want to build a birdhouse?
Then
And I
you
thought,
find instructions for a birdhouse.
I will cross that bridge when I come to it. I will not be doing side angle side.
Yeah.
I will buy a template or a pattern. I don't know. I'm not going to make patterns. So I feel like this idea that we should all learn everything, it also doesn't fit with most autistic brains and how we learn.
My issue with geometry is that it focused on proofs rather than hard data. Because again, like if I wanted to build a birdhouse, I would use precise measurements because I own a ruler. But
Right.
they were like, well, if you don't own a ruler, how would you do this? Well, step one, I would buy a ruler because
Go
rulers
to store,
exist.
purchase
Like,
ruler, or
and you
make
must do
ruler.
this without a calculator. It's like, why? I have a calculator in my pocket that I will use every single day of my life. It's like, well, what if you don't have a calculator? I will go buy a calculator. And
I promise you.
Again, problem solving here, a practicality. I believe that we need a certain baseline of understanding about the universe because otherwise we have flat earthers and we don't need flat earthers.
This is true.
We also need to be aware that I do not have a brain for chemistry. I cannot do ionic and covalent bonds. I understand the quantum levels. I understand that there are electron shells, but again, it throws me off when you say aurum, yes, but that is also gold, but it is also and like, okay, why don't we all just go back to Latin? Well, because quicksilver was originally used, and now we call it mercury, and now it's like there's so many damn names and so many other things. It could be simpler.
Yes, agreed.
But this is the thing about, when you are in middle school, it's not just about digesting information. It's not just about going to school and having to change tracks 6 to 8 times a day. Because if you went to school and you learned one thing all day long, you say, today we are going to learn how to build a train. And like, all right, and you spend 8 hours learning how to build a train and you integrate all of this stuff and it's very neat. But you spend 50 minutes on math, 50 minutes on science, 50 minutes on history, and you have homework in this, homework in this, homework in this. And on top of that, you have to navigate the social structure and learn how to be a human being. And this is really, really tricky, even for the best of us, because we really, really need to do a Tina Fey Mean Girls episode, because that Tina Fey, very autistic, Mean Girls, based on her experiences growing up and people disliking Tina Fey for being very direct and open, but navigating the social hierarchy. Because okay, so let's talk about top down versus bottom up processing and top down versus bottom up socializing, right?
Oh, I love this. We haven't gotten into this before.
Oh, we haven't. Oh God, that's a mistake. Well,
top down to bottom up socializing. I don't know what you mean.
Okay. So top down processing is what neurotypicals do. Neurotypical. So let's rewind. At the very basic thing, autistic brains are hyperconnected. Autistic brains are hyperconnected because we don't respond to a protein called mammalian target of rapamycin, mTOR. And because most people respond to that, most people dissolve their brains in a process called autophagy.
Bit by bit, piece by piece.
And during puberty, between the ages of 12 and 26, they dissolve half of their brains, never to get it back.
And they're fine with this. They're probably
fine with
happier
this.
Than we are.
They say that this is an efficiency thing so that they don't have to think as much. We don't do that. We keep our hyperconnected brains. And in fact, there's no telling where our brains are going to be hyperconnected because we don't weed it out to be neurotypical. Because neurotypical people weed out pretty much the same areas, they end up with the same areas. Because we're autistic and we don't do that, we have lightning strikes all over the brain. So that some people have a lot of words and are hyperverbal, but some people are very good with visuals. Some people are very good with balance.
My
You never
husband has
know.
all the extra visual stuff, which I have not. I can't see anything. But if you like watch a movie and there's an edit, he'll tell you when their hair changed. But I don't
Yeah,
see anything. I have all the extra smell stuff.
yeah,
I can
and
smell anything. I can smell Parkinson's disease. Like you name it,
yeah.
I can smell it.
And this is the thing. This is why neurotypicals can't understand autism, because they say, well, I met an autistic person once and you don't look like them. No, because every autistic person is wired differently. The
We had a different
commonality,
lightning strike.
yeah, the commonality is that we just have lightning brains that are hyper connected. And this is the reason why there's a very high overlap between autism and giftedness, because of the hyper connected brain. A lot of neurotypicals want to see this as an all-in-one disability, because they don't see the good stuff, because again, they don't understand what it's like to have extra smell or what it's like to have extra vision, because they can't fathom it, because they don't have it. They don't see the good sides. All they see is our struggles, and they say, oh, I'm not struggling, so that must be rough for you. But
We
we
should
do
cure you.
struggle. Yeah, we should. Yeah,
We-
exactly. And this is where the medical model is terrible, in that it only sees the ways that we are not. It sees us as broken
Deficient.
neurotypicals. Yeah,
Right.
it doesn't see us as having strengths and weaknesses. It only sees us as having weaknesses, as not being neurotypical. So therefore, there's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of shame. And keep in mind that by definition, neurotypicals have to have average IQ. They have to have an IQ between 90 and 110, because that is average. That is typical. And keep in mind that people with average intelligence have no idea what it's like to be gifted, because they can't think like that, which is why the writers of the Big Bang Theory can't imagine what it's like to be a super genius. So they have to rely on, making fun of Sheldon's quirks, instead of, he sees the world in a very rich way. Perhaps we could focus on that. And they touched on that on young Sheldon, but then the audience drifted off and they only spent like 2 minutes on Sheldon at the end of the series and focus on his family. And it's very frustrating for me. But this is why top-down processing is a thing, and top-down socializing is a thing for neurotypicals, right? So without the hyperconnected brain, our hyperconnected brain focuses on the details. We pick up so much more extra data. We process 42% more data at rest than neurotypical people do. So we're constantly churning through the variables, constantly making algorithms and equations inside our heads, trying to figure out stuff on a daily basis. That person looked at me. What are they thinking? Are they thinking about my shirt? They're thinking about my shirt. I'm wearing a different shirt. They didn't like that shirt, so I'm not going to wear this. And it's infinitely more complex for us. But neurotypicals don't do any of that, because, again, they've weeded out a lot of that section of their brain, in theory, to improve processing in theory. So they don't worry about any of that. So what do? They follow their boss and let someone else tell them what to do.
Which is the popular girls when it comes to middle school. Their
Someone somewhere has decided that Julie from second period is the queen bee. And Julie from second period gets to decide who's cool, who's uncool, what's cool to wear, what's not cool to wear. And everyone else just follows and just does what Julie says to do, because Julie is the boss and everyone else is subordinate. And this is top-down socializing, and we tend not to do that, because we're like, for instance, like, again, neurotypicals have a boss, and that boss has a boss, and that boss has a boss, which is the reason why teachers get upset if you treat them like an equal, because they don't like that. They want to have the hierarchy. If you talk to a principal as an equal, they don't like that, because they want to have the hierarchy. They want to be your boss, not your friend. And this is a very common thing, and it's incredibly unfortunate.
Right.
And there was one neurotypical researcher that I do these continuing education units where I go to trainings, and if you've ever watched the Muppet Show, I'm Statler and Waldorf in these trainings of, just laughing at them and making fun of them and, heckling them. But Yeah, there's this one woman who is neurotypical, does autism evaluations, and in this training, she said, I once evaluated a girl for autism, and I was horrified that she doesn't have, quote, a natural fear of adults. And she treated me
Oh,
like an equal because she, neurotypicals believe that the term respect means treating them as an authority. We believe that the term respect means treating someone as a human being. And that's where we have a massive mismatch on that, which is why, again, with social hierarchies, Julie from second period wants to be treated as a boss, not as an equal. And
right.
they act out against that because when their
So
leadership,
what's the bottom up social processing?
the bottom
Like,
up
so
social.
we're looking at like what interests do you have and
If you're a kid who spends your lunch period hanging out in the library talking with the school librarian, you're a
oh,
bottom up processor.
that's me.
If you hang out talking to the janitor, you're a bottom up processor. If you go to the teacher and say, "Hello, I brought my stack of Pokemon cards because you once mentioned that you were into Pokemon in the '90s. I wanted to show you my Pokemon cards." You're a bottom up processor. We tend to, and this is the thing, because again, with the social hierarchy, this is why quote unquote age appropriate relationships are so important for neurotypicals, because anything else, if someone is above you, they're your boss. If someone is under you, they're your subordinate. So neurotypicals, if you're 15 years old, you have to do what a 20-year-old says, which gets you into all kinds of bad situations. And you get to tell a 5-year-old what to do, as opposed to having a friend who's a 5-year-old, having a friend who's a 20-year-old, and being on equal footing with everybody. Because
Right.
this egalitarianism, this equity, is a big, big thing for us. And it's part of our justice sensitivity that we want to treat people as equals. We want to treat animals as equals because that dog has feelings. That bug might have feelings. Don't step on that bug. And neurotypicals don't do that at all. And this is the thing, because neurotypicals, because of the way that and this is going to be ironic on this, so hold on for the irony.
Okay.
Neurotypicals are notoriously xenophobic, and it's us versus them as I talk about them as neurotypicals. But it's one of those things that it's our world is in a way it is because it's very, very difficult for many people to accept nuance, to accept that somebody else might be very different than you, and then the scaredness comes in. And again, this is where there's a difference between uh opinions versus acceptance,
Yeah.
because you can have a different opinion on a sports team and you say, I like the yellow team, well, I like the blue team. It doesn't matter, it's your preference. I like chocolate ice cream, I don't like ice cream at all, who cares? I'm gay, I don't like gay people. That's a problem.
That's
And
where when our humanity comes in, that's where it gets messy. But I
yeah,
feel like we should take a break and then come back and talk about what teens and tweens can do, because they're trapped in a way that we aren't as adults.
that is very
So,
true.
and now we're going to trap our listeners into listening to this message.
Thank you, capitalism. Have you been thinking about writing a book? Did you know Angela helps autistic people write books and get literary agents? Whether you want to write about your special interest, your autism journey, or your professional area of expertise, you can learn more about her work at angelakingdon.com. That's Angela, KINGDON, like November.com. She helped me write my book.
Okay, so we were talking about why it sucks to be a teenager trapped in the educational system, but now you have promised us, Matt, some tools on what we can do about it.
Yeah, because this
Or
is the
what they
thing.
can do about it. I'm glad I'm not a teenager.
Yeah, me too. Because again, this is for part 3. It's going to be the real fun part because I get to talk to you about how cool it is to be an adult and buy all the toys I want. But
Yes.
yeah, but this is the thing. What can you do when you are a kid who doesn't have any power at all? it's really, really tough. And when you're not wired the same way that other people are, because here's the thing, realistically, again, you spend 18 years of your life trying to fit in and the rest of your life trying to stand out, because standing out is outstanding. I mean, by definition, outstanding means you have to stand out. No one ever put up a memorial to the most average of all people. Bob Jenkins lived and died in an average time, in an average way, with 2.5 children of average names, completed an average job. Yay, average. That's not what we do. It's the irony that in school, in order to survive, you have to be the most average possible. And this is why that we have trauma from masking, because especially if you're a teenage girl, because boys in our society are allowed to be more eccentric. If an autistic boy comes up and says, "Hi, I really like trains and Pokemon," there's going to be a lot of people who say, "Yep, that's an autistic boy," an autistic white boy.
Right.
Says, yeah.
If
you have any melanin in your skin, you might be misdiagnosed as obsessive or oppositional defiant. But girls are socialized from birth to fit in and to calm the waves. And if you don't, again, like Tina Fey, if you don't rock the boat, you're fine. But if you do rock the boat, they call you all sorts of names. And this is where you might hide pieces of yourself. Idina Menzel was talking about how when she was a kid, she could sing really well. Because if you've ever heard Idina Menzel sing,
she sings very well.
She's a good singer. Yeah, she does. She belts it out, and anything she sings, you're like, she's got a set of pipes on her. I will listen to her sing the phone book. But when she was around other kids her age, she always hid it. And if they asked if they were singing in the car, she would intentionally sing badly so she wouldn't stand out, because she didn't want people to comment on it or, say anything bad. One of my core memories is being in middle school in art class, and they asked us to draw a shoe, right? So I took off my shoe, put it on the desk, and started drawing hyper realistically. And a kid at the desk was like, "That's too realistic. It's got too many details. You shouldn't put so many details." As this kid drew what may or may not have been a potato with laces, right?
Right.
And I realized that part of the neurotypical social hierarchy is the necessity to criticize literally everything. So I learned that the way to shut this down was, if somebody says, "You like blank," you turn it around and say in the exact same tone, "You don't like blank." And then they would be caught off guard because you pulled the Uno reverse. Like, "Oh, I like blank. I like blank a lot. Don't criticize me about blank." And you watch Nickelodeon? Like, "You don't watch Nickelodeon?" You flip it around.
This is giving Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah,
I'm rubber and
seriously.
you're glue, and whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you.
Yeah, Pee Wee Herman totally based on this experience, because I mean, that's honest to God, man. But this is the thing: as a kid, you don't have control of your school schedule. You have to go from a certain amount of time to a certain amount of time. You have to be herded from class to class. You don't have control over the people that you're in class with. You don't have control over the homework. You don't have control over your lunch. You might be able to bring lunch from home, but there's a whole lot of other variables associated with that. Of, do you have the money for lunch from home? Do you have the resources for somebody to make you a lunch? Do you get up early enough to make your own? There's a whole lot of stuff associated with that, when I can just do DoorDash and have food brought to me because I'm a grown up. Eat
But
it,
the thing
kids.
is that when you are most emotionally regulated, you are more likely to be at your best in your special interests, in whatever.
Oh
And
yeah.
all of the things that are likely to make you dysregulated go with school. So there's going
Yeah.
to be fluorescent lights.
Oh
There's
God.
going to be lots of changes. Like you're going to
Yeah.
be changing classes all the time. You're going to have substitute teachers. The teachers are going to want you to change your desk all the time. I go to the same desk every single day, you guys. There's no other desk I go to with all my stuff in it in the right order. But
Yeah.
in school, you probably go to 5 different desks a day, maybe
Yeah.
more. And there's going to be all of the sensory stuff. Like I just remember kids in my school that wore too much Polo cologne, and that kid would always be sitting next to me. Like, you cannot control the cologne other people wear. Now,
Yeah.
you can't always control that as an adult either, but like there's so many things out of control. So it's very difficult for me to imagine being emotionally regulated more than 20% of the time in a school,
Especially if
even
you're
if I was in that setting right now.
especially if you're going through puberty, because puberty
Right.
completely
All the
messes with
stuff
your emotion.
inside your meat
Seriously,
body.
because this is a big thing about like Inside Out, because Riley's going through puberty and trying to figure out how to deal with all these new emotions, trying to figure out how to deal with, you know, relating to people, trying to figure out all of this stuff and dealing
How
with
to get that girl
anxiety.
to like her that they pretend she's not into, but she is
Exactly.
definitely into that girl.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
so, and then the things that are good as an autistic person, like getting into your spins, you're probably doing that after school. You're not getting into your
That's
spins and monotropic focus in 45-minute chunks.
no. So this is the thing about what you can control, because if you are aware of all of this stuff, if you're aware that your meat body is mutating before your eyes in uncomfortable ways, that if you're aware that this social hierarchy exists, and that you must, and here's the thing, between masking is where you internalize this. Masking is where you say, I must cover up parts of myself in order to be loved, in order to be accepted. On the other hand, if you look at it, let's say you're Jane Goodall and you decide to put on a gorilla suit to hang out with the gorillas. She didn't actually put on a gorilla suit,
No.
but for the purposes of this, let's say you put on a gorilla suit to do a study. Because you are studying the neurotypicals around you. You are collecting data in an anthropological format, because you are learning about a different culture. And with this, you can pretend and be fully aware. I really love the way my brain works. I am a child of Autistica. You are from Autistica, and you're just learning how the descendants of neurotypicals work.
And it's just like if you're an exchange student, you're not going to tell
Yes.
everybody in Japan they're wrong. You're just going to show up. You're not going to understand
I don't
everything.
know.
It's
An
going to be
American
mostly in
might.
Japanese.
Yeah.
But you're going to go there and you're going to observe and get what you get and take notes. You're not necessarily going to change them. Like they're not going to start acting American, but
There is a remarkably obscure cartoon that is found in its entirety on YouTube called Galaxy High. And it ran for 13 episodes back in the 80s. It was about a jock and a nerd. The girl is the nerd, the dude is the jock, and for some reason they're chosen to be exchange students at Galaxy High. So every day, an alien taxi comes and picks them up and takes them to school on Jupiter, I believe. And things are changed around because she's really smart and the aliens respect that, and everything is fairly autistically coded on that. It's one of those things where the show is fairly autistically coded, but it's remarkably obscured. I don't know how many
wrong
people would listen to
planet.
that episode. Yeah, exactly. And of course, the jock is like, yes, I'm strong and I play good football, but are you as strong as the 9-armed Martian? Like, no, not at all. Are you as good at football as Florgball? No, I'm not. I don't have any marketable skills, whatever. Oh, that's unfortunate. So if you get a chance, look it up on YouTube. Let us know what you think. If you want a full episode about this, let us know and we'll do it. But this is the thing about it. This is a cultural exchange program. You can learn about people, and this is a valuable extra class for you to take in middle school and in high school, because you are learning, you are studying neurotypicals, you are studying neurotypical social structure, you are studying how to be successful in this world. Because otherwise, the executive, but at the same time, if you try to actually do it, your executive functioning is going to bottom out because it's not how your brain is programmed.
Right. That's the difference between masking to like be a good girl and fit in. And this is how you're going to act. Like by practicing this, it's going to eventually come naturally to you.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it is not.
No.
But if you
No.
mask to get through the class and you're doing it from that Jane Goodall perspective of like, this is a research project,
Yes.
you can preserve a little bit of your sanity.
Because here's the thing, you're still, our executive functioning is what we call a dynamic disability, because our brains are hyperconnected, because we process so much data, we get overloaded by the data, our processors burn out and our bodies burn out, and at the end of the school day you might come home and crash, you might come home and cry. I went home every day from school and slept for like 3 hours because I was so exhausted from doing everything at school. And if that's what works for you, if you need to recharge, do it. You have to find a way to accommodate your meat body and accommodate your brain. And ways that work for other people might not work for you. So you have to do trial and error in order to experiment with this. So you have to find a way to survive at school, but thrive outside of it. And because this is the thing. Oh, so the sad truth that nobody's going to tell you, nobody gives a single damn what grade you made in math. Nobody will ever care. Nobody's going to ever ask.
No one even asked me which math classes I took. No one's like, wow,
No.
Did you take algebra 2? Did you take calc? No one cares.
Yeah. Yeah, because again, getting good grades is incredibly important for you right now. If I'm 45 years old, if I meet somebody and says, "Hi, I'm Matt. I got an A on my test in chemistry in middle school," people are going to look at you funny, because
unless that's your special interest, people's middle school grades.
Yeah, and again, realistically speaking, the people that are so influential in your life right now, you're never going to see them again. After you graduate high school, yeah, you might stay in contact with one or two people that you like. Neurotypical people, it's fascinating because I find the concept of high school football to be fascinating, because there's so many people who are very, very invested in a children's game.
Yeah. And do you have people from the hometown where you grew up that still go back to like the high school football games? Because they're in my town, they do. They go, all my high school friends, they still live there. They go to the same bars, the same restaurants, and they go once a year to our high school football game.
Yeah. I don't understand that. I don't understand any of it. I don't understand the concept of high school reunions, because the people that I want to see, I stayed in contact with the entire time. I'm not going to go back and say, yes, I'm 45 and I knew you people when I was 17 and 18. I've lived literally an entire life since then. It's like going back, being reincarnated from the 1800s and saying, yes, that butter churning sure was an excellent time, was it not?
Right.
It's just not who I am. But this is, so you have to develop who you are.
Yeah. And you're certainly at 12 in middle school, you're not going to know yet.
No.
But there will be things you hate.
Mm-hmm.
And I really encourage people to minimize the things that they hate that they can minimize. So for instance, if changing classes in the hallway is super loud and you can get noise canceling earphones, or I love the loops, and now there's the loop 3-way. So I use the loop Engage for like going to museums or grocery shopping or whatever, because that allows you to have a conversation with the person next to you. The Loop 3-way gives you a complete like block-out version in the same earphones. And
I have not
so,
heard about that. I need to
yeah,
get
they're
that.
new and they're amazing. I'm very excited about them.
Loop, give us money. We'll advertise you.
Yes, we need more we need different ads. We're sick of hearing us talking. We have to run somebody else's ads. But like if stim toys help you, for me, like crystals, this one's super sparkly, and little poppy toys, they really help me to stay grounded when I know what it feels like. I didn't at 12, but I know what it feels like when I'm starting to get not good. And if I stim, and these are less likely to bother someone than like, for some reason, me bouncing my knee and biting my nails, I got backhanded a lot. Did you ever get hit? I always got hit for it.
I was
but like teachers,
when I was
friends.
15. When I was 15, I was like 6 feet tall, so I was pretty much a dare to try me. My way of socializing in elementary school was to stand firm on a playground and have people try to knock me over, and they would just bounce off of me because I was a very, very big kid, and I was essentially an immovable wall. And that was the only redeeming quality that they saw about me. Not the fact that I was grades ahead and they had to order extra math because I was really smart and I was in the gifted program and all this other stuff. They saw that I was big and that I couldn't be knocked over. So, yay, middle school.
But yeah, so I feel like find those things that you can do now that aren't going to get you kicked out of school. So whether that's noise canceling earphones, whether it is having a whoopee or something soft in your pocket to rub, or a crystal or something to help you. And then Matt's technique of the Jane Goodall observer. The thing I tell my nephews who are this age and my kids and stuff like that is like, you just got to get through this.
Yeah.
Because it's better on the other side.
And you've got to find the other weirdos because you are not alone. You are not alone by any means. But this is the thing that we're going to talk about when we come back, because this is how you survive and how you develop your adult self. Because this is going to be essential for surviving, for thriving, for becoming a healthy autistic adult. But again, we must accommodate the needs of the others and run an ad, because this is how
is apparently the way.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to the Autistic Culture Podcast. I practice in Kentucky, and you can get a psychological evaluation or therapy with me if you live in Kentucky, or a consult with me from anywhere in the world, because it's a non-clinical service. Just contact me at www.mattlowrylpp.com. MATTLOWRYLPP, as in licensed psychological practitioner.com.
And you can find out more about writing your book with me at angelakingdon.com.
This is the way. You're listening to the Autistic Culture Podcast with me, Matt Lowry, and Angela Kingdon. We've been talking about what teens and tweens can do about the challenges of growing up, but now we're going to talk about what it looks like on the other side. So here's the thing. Let's say that all of your stressors are taken away, that you don't have to do classes anymore, you don't have to deal with the nonsense socializing anymore, you don't have to deal with all these challenges. Who are you? And this is where you have to lay the groundwork for the person you will become. Because I'll tell you right now where I am. I'm coming to you from my very nice house. I do like my house. My house is quiet. I've got the library over here. I've got a fireplace over here. I've got toys over there. I can buy any toy that I like. I can buy any book that I like. I have many, many nice toys. We'll have to give you a tour once the house is in ship shape. I have complete control over my life. I choose when I go to work. I don't see people before 11 a.m. because I like to sleep late. I will see therapy people on Mondays and Tuesdays. On Wednesday, I will go to Trail House and I will do evaluations. On Thursdays, we do the podcast. and I don't do anything on Fridays because I need a 3-day weekend every weekend to survive.
Except for when I make you record pickup podcasts.
Oh, yes,
because
yes.
we missed one.
Yes, but this is the thing. I have absolute control over my life, and I am able to live a healthy autistic life on my own terms. But what does that mean for me? Because who am I now that I have complete control? And this is where you all have to figure this stuff out as you go, because you don't want to be 45 and suddenly you realize, oh my God, I need to figure this stuff out, which is actually why a lot of people are in therapy, because they've been suppressing it for many, many years. And now they've come to that conclusion of who am I?
Right.
So,
you are so lucky that you know young that you're autistic, but also that gives you a responsibility to like embrace autistic culture and not try and be, well, I mean, look, you could try and be a neurotypical. You are going to fail.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who's succeeded at that. And then you will be somebody who failed at being neurotypical, who has no idea who they are, because you're just a person who pretended to be another person. Yeah. I feel like in the 7 years from my diagnosis until embracing autistic culture, I was acting 24 hours a day. Even when I was asleep, I think I was acting in my dreams.
That sounds exhausting.
And it was very exhausting, and it almost literally killed me.
Yeah.
So if you can take this now, if you can take this opportunity now, you will have such a better chance at having a healthy and fully authentically autistic life.
And this is why you have to figure out. So we figure out who we are based on other people around us, because we can't just generate something out of nothing. We can look at our role models. For instance, like I look at George Lucas and say, oh, wow, he really wanted stuff his way, and he made some really, really great stuff. And he's very stubborn at times, and it took him a very long time to find a very loving, committed relationship, because his ex-wife burned him really, really hard. That was, check out our George Lucas episode. But he is one of my heroes. If you look at other people that create content, there's a lot of people who create web comics. There's a lot of people who write. There's a lot of people who act. There's a lot of people who do really cool stuff. You might find other people at your school that you find are really, really cool to you. They might not be cool to everybody. They might put other people off, but you say, man, I like that trait about them. And when you like a trait about somebody, it helps you develop that trait inside you. And this is how you develop who you are, because this is why we have our mirror neurons, right? So every living creature has mirror neurons in their brain, right? These neurons look at other people, look at us, and we see ourselves in other people, more or less. Our mirror neurons are hyper-connected. Exactly. Yawning. Yawning is a form of echopraxia, where we accidentally repeat the movements of others. And if one person yawns, other people yawn. I'm trying not to yawn because I'm
really wants to yawn.
Exactly.
I was doing it too on purpose.
Exactly.
You guys can't see this, but I keep yawning because I know it's going to make Matt's mirror neurons go, you should yawn. No, you should really yawn.
Exactly. And so we do echolalia, where we repeat words, sounds, and phrases from other people. And if you have like a SpongeBob meme, you might repeat that. If there's a favorite movie, if you repeat Taylor Swift songs, that's echolalia. If you repeat it inside your head, that's echolosia. So if you have stuff like Simpsons quotes repeating nonstop in your brain, I know you can read my thoughts, boy. Meow, 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 meow. Yeah. So there's stuff running inside my head all the. Also,
How about, this is the song that never ends. It just goes on and nonstop. That's always on loop in there.
So it turns out, it fascinates me that one of the experts in the field says that only 25% of people have an internal monologue.
I know. I don't. What are their brains doing? They're just walking around without
Yeah. Some people see in pictures. Some people don't think at all. And if you are one of these people that has an internal monologue and you repeat stuff to yourself, congratulations, you're part of a special club. But
I know
this is
which
the thing.
one.
You must think about, you must find the people that you admire. You must find the people that do stuff that you like. You must find your fellow weirdos. I named my private practice is called Child and Adolescent Psychological Evaluations LLC. Number one, I named it for the Google hits because I didn't want to pay
I
for
was going to
advertising.
say that. I was like, that's very straightforward.
Yeah. Even though now I see mainly adults, it's, and mainly I do therapy now, but I did it for the Google hits. But the big reason why I did it is because the acronym Child Adolescent Psychological Evaluations is CAPE. And the reason for that is in the Muppets, the movie that was the Jason Segel Muppet movie that was in 2010, 2011.
Yeah, okay.
There's a scene with Gonzo. And Gonzo has always been my favorite Muppet because Gonzo is weird. He is a weirdo, as they call him. Gonzo is puppeteered by Dave Goelz. Dave Goelz, back in the 60s, was an engineer at Hewlett-Packard. And then one day he turns on the TV and sees Sesame Street. And he says, oh my God, I want to do that. So he packs up his bags from California and a profitable career as an engineer for Hewlett-Packard and moves to New York because he goes to New York, looks up Frank Oz in the phone book and says, hey, I want to do what you do. And it's like, all right, you can meet Jim. So he goes and meets Jim Henson and Frank Oz, and they say, hey, you want to make dolls wiggle? And he says, yeah, let's make some dolls wiggle. So he started off making puppets, and then he was incredibly socially awkward. He had a lot of social anxiety. And again, we tend to have a lot of social anxiety because we tend to calculate the variables of, are they looking at me? Am I looking at them enough? Is my tone of voice correct? What if they judge me? Because we have a lot of rejection sensitivity. And he put that into Gonzo's character initially. Initially, the character of Gonzo was based on a Muppet that they called the Cigar Box Frackle from the Great Santa Claus Switch, a special that they just had this puppet that would later become known as Gonzo, who lived in a cigar box. They took that puppet, put a little suit on it, and they called him Gonzo the Great. And at first, Gonzo had a lot of social anxiety. And at first, Gonzo was very reserved. And as Dave Goelz came out of his shell, they decided to add a little mechanism inside Gonzo's puppet where he could pull on it, and all of a sudden Gonzo's eyelids open up really wide into this wild look, right? So as Dave Goelz got to do more writing and got to do more weird stuff, like eating a tire to the tune of Flight of the Bumblebee, to jumping a motorcycle over Statler and Waldorf in the balcony, Dave Goelz got to do weirder and weirder and weirder stuff, and Gonzo got to be more and more and more outlandish. It's this cyclical thing that they got to spiral up. So Dave Goelz became this wonderful, wonderful, outgoing person. Again, still fairly reserved, but by our standards, very outgoing. And Gonzo became Gonzo the Great in everything. But by Muppets, in the Jason Segel movie, Jason Segel is a lifelong fan of the Muppets. He decided that he wanted to write a Muppet movie while he was writing Forgetting Sarah Marshall. So for Forgetting Sarah Marshall, he wrote a Dracula puppet play, and he got the Henson Company to do the puppets for it. So he was like, I'd really love to do a Muppet movie with you guys sometime. And they're like, well, let's talk to Disney. They worked it out. So one of his favorite Muppets is Gonzo. So there's this scene where they're trying to get the band back together, and they go to Gonzo. And Gonzo is now this businessman of a plumbing factory as a callback to the original Muppet movie. And now Gonzo is very businesslike and very straightforward and very boring. And it is a heartbreaking scene. It makes me well up just thinking about it because the magic is gone. The soul of Gonzo is gone because he has acclimated to the neurotypical world. He is acclimated to the world around him. But as they're leaving, kind of sad that they've lost Gonzo. Gonzo's standing on the top of the building, the plumbing building, And he rips open his business suit, and underneath he has tights and a cape. And he says, "I've been wearing this underneath the suit every day for the past 30 years." And then he presses a button that explodes the factory so he can go and do all of this because he's been wearing his cape secretly for all this time. And you
Cape.
must continue to wear your cape. I must continue to wear my cape. And when I started off this business, when I started off as a mature adult with a business, I was like, yes, I will go and find autistic kids, and that will be enough. And I will pretend to be neurotypical, and I will do this. But again, the more I found myself and the more I found my people, the more I wore my cape. And now we have the Autistic Culture Podcast. Now we have Trailhouse. Now we have the group. We used to have a group called Autistic Quarantines because it's back in the quarantine.
Oh, is that what Autistic Connections comes out of?
Oh, well, it worked out together. It's a Discord server, but all the teens are now in their 20s, and we need a new Discord server for now teens. But all this came from being able to be out and proud, wearing my cape freely.
You can't pretend to be someone else and then meet your people. Like whoever your people are, they're not going to be into you if you're pretending to someone else. Somebody else will be into you, but they won't be your people. And that's where your identity comes from.
You're going to attract the boring people. You're going to be put in situations that compromise your integrity. You're going to be put in situations that make you compromise your morals. The more you compromise yourself, the more dangerous the world becomes.
Right.
You need to find the people who will support and love the real you. And if you have to do this under the radar, then by all means do it. But be aware that you do have the cape. Be aware that you are wearing the cape. You must wear it underneath the costume.
I feel like before we end this episode, I want to address the idea of us having broken brains. It's certainly, I've had the thought. And so for me, it's about like, I forget what the word is when you can hold two things that are opposites. Like, I don't think my brain is broken. I do, however, think for the world that I live in, it is occasionally maladaptive. Like I'm getting on a plane soon with my sense of smell requires a lot of things I have to bring with me in order to manage that. And I guess I could view that as my brain is broken. It's certainly not adaptive to the world I live in.
That's the thing, because we live in a world that is dominated by neurotypicals, but is created by autistics. Because again, the iPhone, Steve Jobs, clearly autistic.
Yeah, go listen to Apple is Autistic, one of our first episodes.
Radio, television, science, all of the things that push humanity forward, probably done by autistic people. Because again, you don't change the world by being average. You don't change the world by being like everybody else. So it's the weirdos of the world that make us who we are. We owe everything in our modern world to the people who stood out, to the people who challenged the system, to the people who decided not to go with the flow. Because every single great advancement in, like the Wright brothers, so people said, you'll never be able to fly. Now we go to the moon.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs and square holes, the ones who see things differently, the ones who aren't fond of rules. That is from that Apple ad. I don't remember the rest of it, but it's basically just us. You're welcome.
Exactly. And that's the thing, because while there are the estimate is that, most people are neurotypical, but again, they just might be the biggest demographic neurotype. There might only be 60% of the people in the world who are neurotypical, but there's still more than the autistics, plus the bipolar people, plus the schizophrenic people, plus, all these other groups. So again, just because they're in the majority doesn't mean that they shape the world. And you are in a position to make the world a better place just by having existed in it. You are going to be memorable. The average people are not going to be memorable. You're going to make someone else again, when I remember the phrase that you spend 18 years of your life trying to fit in and the rest of your life trying to stand out, that came from somebody that I knew when I was in college, and that stood out to me. I don't remember the normal people. I don't remember the people who fit in. I don't remember the people who, decided to just stay silent to injustice. The ones who stand out are the ones who make an impression. You are going to be the one who changes the world. And if other people are uncomfortable with it, let them be. They can sit behind as the world changes and evolves around them.
Yep.
So
that's the
said,
journey. And meanwhile, you just got to get through school. However, it's going to happen.
Survive it, take care of yourself, and find your people, band together, and make the world a better place.
Yes, for sure.
So that said, that's all I got for this week. But thank you for listening to episode 94, Autistic Culture for Teens and Tweens. You can hear from us on Tuesday in our culture episode. But if you love this advocacy episode and want back next, this is going to be one of those things where we edit it out. So if you hear this, then you're part of a special group, because people make mistakes all the time. It's just that we edit them out. Oh, hell, let's leave it in, because this is the thing, because everybody makes mistakes. It's just that, we occasionally edit out for a highlight reel. So this is human. Let's leave this in. Right. So I'm going to read my script, and we're going to do this. Thank you for listening to episode 94, Autistic Culture for Teens and Tweens. You can next hear from us on Tuesday in our culture episode. But if you love this advocacy episode, we're back next week with episode 96, PDA. And Angela.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you to the listener who wrote to us and for trusting us with your story. To your kid, we want you to know you are enough just as you are, even if it doesn't feel like that today. You are not alone. Find your people wherever they are. And community, I think, for all of us who feel lonely and just struggling sometimes with the limitations of the world we live in, community is the thing that keeps us going, even if it's community through texting, through a box or whatever. But we are here for you. You are welcome in our world. Thank you for trusting us with your story. This is why we're here and why we added our Friday episodes. So that's all I got, Matt. Thanks for a great episode.
Have a good one. Thanks for listening to the Autistic Culture Podcast Advocacy Edition.
Be sure to tune in for our Autistic Culture episodes every Tuesday, where we celebrate autistic contributions to society, culture, and history.
For even more autistic culture, consider becoming a paid member for exclusive perks, like live Q&A calls with us, a virtual writing circle, and our new Self-Defined Living course by Becca Laurie Hector.
Fun fact, Matt, it actually costs us $8 for every minute that people see or hear on the podcast. But our member pricing is just $8 a month.
What a bargain!
What a bargain! Buy 1 minute and get 500 minutes for free. Seriously, if you can afford this, we really appreciate your contribution. It makes all this possible.
And of course, the best way everyone can support what we're doing is to rate, review, share, and subscribe on Substack or your favorite podcast app.
This is the way.